Welcome back to another riveting installment of Rummin with Rumsey, presented by Swimlane. Today, we're going to be talking about something near and dear to my heart. A little something I like to call the ISO Trifecta. The ISO Trifecta is a combination of these three audits. ISO 27001 for security, ISO 27701 for privacy, and ISO 42001 for AI governance. Combining these three is the recipe for success for a SaaS company that has AI in their product and sells to a global customer base. We done did the ISO Trifecta here at Swimlane. We got the three audits performed, we got the certifications, and it's helped in many ways. It helps close due diligence requests, it helps get deals to the finish line smoother, and with our Hero AI product, we get a ton of questions about how we're controlling data in the product and putting up guardrails in our AI, so it's helped establish a good baseline. Now, privacy, that's always been an EU thing, but we have EU customers, we have a global customer base, so having the 27701 audit helps support our credibility when we answer questions about our privacy program. So why do the ISO Trifecta? Why not just get one of these audits or two of them done? Well, the high-level requirements in these ISO standards are largely the same. These audits are comprised of Phase 1 and Phase 2. Phase 1 is going over these things called normative clauses 4 through 10, and they're all written the same. After 2021, the International Standards Organization made a directive to harmonize these frameworks so they were easier to do together. The Phase 1 part of the audit is largely the same set of documentation. And instead of just saying this is our security program, you now say this is our security, privacy, and AI program, which there's a term for it. It's called your integrated management system. All right, I'm gonna focus on these normative clauses 4 through 10 to really drive the point home, why you should do all three of these together and how it can save a ton of time on the back end to just think about it all up front. I'm gonna go down the list of deliverables. I'm gonna say boom, combine, or boom, separate. Let's do it. All right, clause 4, scope document. Boom, combine. Clause 5, high level policy. Boom, separate. Make security, AI, and privacy its own policy. Roles and responsibility policy. Boom, combine. Clause 6 requirements. Risk assessment process, risk treatment process. Boom, combine. Now, ISO 42001 requires an AI system impact assessment process or methodology. So obviously you gotta separate that one out. Clause 7 requirements. Bit about training and competence, but boom, combine. Communication guidelines, combine. Documentation policy, boom, combine. Clause 8, monitoring and measuring policy, combine. Risk register, combine. Risk assessment, performance, and report, I'd say combine. Risk treatment plan. In a report, yeah, you could combine. If they're separate plans, you could separate them out from the different scopes. Okay, after you do the risk assessment, you have to make a statement of applicability. Basically, you go into the frameworks and list all of the controls that are in the framework documentation in Annex A for each. Now, you do this after the risk assessment. Technically, this requirement is in clause 6 or something, but definitely boom, combine. Clause 9, internal audit process, boom, combined. Audit plan, boom, combine. And internal audit report, combine. So clause 9, you have this management review process. This is done after you do a risk assessment and you do your internal audit, and boom, combine. Clause 10 requirements, continual improvement process, boom, combine. Non-conformity and corrective action plans. These are basically internal audit findings that turn into, a plan to remediate. I'd make a case that you separate that. Okay, so to pass a Phase 1 in these ISO audits, you can combine a ton of requirements in the normative clauses. Let's get into the Phase 2, the underlying controls in all these frameworks that will be tested by an auditor. So ISO 27001 has 93 Annex A controls. ISO 42001 has 38 Annex A controls. And the annoying part is ISO 27701. It has 50 controls in Annex A, but it was last published in 2019. Now there is a new version coming out. There's a 2025 version dropping in a couple weeks. I would wait till that new version drops because it might change the controls. You know, the gist of them will be the same. They might be written and organized different. And if you wait till that new version comes out, all three are going to be very, very aligned. Okay, so to actually help organize and gather evidence for a phase 2 audit for all these underlying framework controls, this is typically where you want a compliance management system. Now, that's why we built CAR at Swimlane. Gives me a control catalog. So it abstracts away, you know, a requirement, what you're doing in the real world, and it does all the framework mapping in the background. So easy to see what controls are going to overlap from the three frameworks and what might be, you know, specific to ISO 42001 control. Now, a lot of tools on the market are going to have some kind of mapping strategy. So it's all preference. It's what is the easiest way to organize and define the program. There you have it, the ISO trifecta. You know, I went an inch deep, but hopefully you learned something. And that concludes this installment of Rummin with Rumsey.